Greetings from Fort. I'm Selgris, and sorry it's so dark here. Getting late here in the outer dimensions. But I thought I would talk about The Boys Season 5, Episode 5, One Shot. I've been a big fan of what The Boys have been doing so far this season. I really have enjoyed it immensely. And this episode was no exception. I do think, though, that the last episode, episode 4, was rather weak. I don't think the stuff with Annie slash Starlight was required. I mean, her kind of meeting up with, further in backstory, meeting up with her estranged father and stepbrother. Well, I guess it'd be half brother. That wasn't required. That was a detour that really did not need to happen as the B story last week. But this week, the little vignette says it was broken up into 4 parts, basically 4 acts. The first one concentrating, of course, on Firecracker, then on new Black Noir, then Butcher's Dog Terror and his perspective, which was hilarious, and kind of disturbing too in some ways, and finally on Sister Sage. And also there was a plot in there with Soldier Boy in the middle. I don't think it really introduced his segment as such. I believe it might have, but yeah, so there were probably 5 to count Soldier Boy, and they were all amazing. The stuff with Firecracker and how she basically stabbed her youth pastor in the back from her old town, and how he used to be like a father figure to her and looked after her when her parents were treating her shitty. That was great. And how she then threw her little Jesus statuette there in the garbage, only to have spoilers, major spoilers ahead. So if you don't want to be spoiled, don't watch this video. Only to have Homelander then just kill her with like no reason other than the fact that Soldier Boy informed them about the affair. Informed Homelander that the two of them were having an affair, and he of course completely blamed her. He ain't gonna blame his erstwhile papa, estranged as well as erstwhile. So he killed her and slammed her head against like the side of the eagle statue. That was a pretty good scene and very ironic, very sad for the character, though some could argue that the character basically got what they deserved. Firecracker for the fact that she was willing to jettison her faith both in her religion and in her youth pastor was like her father figure, or Homelander, who certainly didn't earn it. And then you have like the my favorite part, the plot with Soldier Boy, where you get to see Seth Rogen get killed on screen. I mean, it was worth enough for me right there. That was worth the price of admission because I really don't like Seth Rogen. I don't like the stuff like Sausage Party or anything else he's really done. I feel he's overrated and he sucks. Basically, so seeing him getting killed by the speedster character, that was hilarious. And it looks now like Soldier Boy and Homelander are on the same page, which is very interesting, considering the pair have been at odds, and it's like Kirkman's been teasing the creator that they would have a falling out and possibly he'd have a redemption arc. Soldier Boy, that is, of course, not Homelander, but that certainly isn't going to happen. And Sister Sage drew down with Ashley, and if it's true, what her ultimate plan is, it's very disturbing. But basically, she wants to destroy all life on Earth, like, well, sapient life on Earth, human and soup, so that she can simply have peace and quiet in a bunker, so she can basically read and do mathematical problems, philosophical problems alike as much as she wants. Kind of reminds me of a perverse, twisted version of the whole Twilight Zone episode Time at Last, the classic one, where the guy, was a bookworm and he never gets to read, but then he's like one of the few, if only survivors. We never really find out, but then it might be the only survivor of a nuclear holocaust. And then just when he goes to read all the books from the library, what the library they have with access to, he drops his glasses and they break. So It reminded me of a perverse inversion of that idea. And I don't know if Ashley really going along with Sister Sage is going to be good for her, but we shall see. And then we have new Black Noir who finally stood up to himself. He stood up for himself, like to Ezekiel there, the fake pastor there, Soup, and said like Homelander could cure him, give him the ability to speak, and give him the ability to fly, empower him and the like, for Homelander's phony baloney miracle, like a fake miracle, basically upstaging, the ne'er do well who is the Deep. But then the Deep found out that new Black Noir had a theater company that he was part of, and they were going to do a play and take it off Broadway, and was on the verge of maybe even going on Broadway. And then he kills the producer, like with an eel through the toilet, which is very graphic, just to get revenge on New Black Noir. And I must admit, not only it continues to show how petty the Deep is, but this is the first time that I at least have ever felt that the Deep is a legitimate threat, that he's scary what he did. So yeah, kudos, for Kirkman and the writers so late in the game for finally making the Deep feel not only intimidating, but like even more of a sleazeball on top of that, and you just can't wait for him to get his comeuppance. And then you have like Terror the dog, and he's basically an observer. He has a weird relationship with Homelander due to his toy. That's all I'll say. But the dog was an observer to the boys and the different things they were doing. You see that Butcher does have some humanity, limited humanity in him, at least for his dog. And when the dog ate like a chocolate souffle that was thrown in the garbage, courtesy of Frenchie, Yui helped him, make sure that the dog gagged it up so that, vomited it so that he wouldn't suffer from chocolate poisoning, which are, of course, bad for dogs. And you did see that Butcher relented and said maybe he would allow Kamiko and Annie, aka Starlight, to receive the shot of the V1, so that they could not be killed in the coming plague apocalypse. So there was that. So it does show there's a glimmer of humanity still within Butcher. And it also is interesting for the theory that a lot of fans have that he's being controlled, or at least heavily influenced by his tumor, which you can see the control, if there is a control influence there, it's not total. So all in all, I think it was a very good episode. Oh, and also one final thing, Soldier Boy, they alluded to earlier, seemed to side with Homie when the producers had Homie knocked out, one of them gassed him. That must have been his ability, like he sprayed him with gas from his mouth. It must have been shoot. And they offered him, we can kill this guy right now. Like, you can use your chest shock ability there with the nuclear ability that the Russians gave him to burn out the B2 out of his system, make him powerless, and then we can beat the shit out of him and even potentially kill him, like that's Rogan and the others there in Hollywood. They were going after the Speedster character, and he said, no, he might be a jerk, he might be a horrible monster, but he's basically my jerk and my monster. I'm not going to let you do that to my son. So that was interesting. Also, this led, at least indirectly, I would argue maybe directly, to the demise of Firecracker, because Soldier Boy, after saving Homelander and dealing with the producers, basically said, just casually, oh, I was having an affair with Firecracker behind your back. We're not going to do that anymore. The pillow talk really PO'd me anyway. So we also saw earlier how ruthless Soldier Boy can be when he threatened to kill Zoe and her father there to get the location of this Speedster guy, and that he might have a connection to the V1 out of Stan Edgar. He was like, oh, your granddaughter, we tracked her down to Tempe, Arizona along with her father. Basically, kind of implying to be a shame if anything happened to her. So yeah, it's still firing on all six cylinders, and I think that season 5 has been pretty great. So, Mazarot's Court, that's it for now.